Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty sort of person? Well, your reaction to this quote by Malik Hall might give you an answer. And then, hey, we're going to talk that MSU hockey with Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find the next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below on YouTube, smash that 5-star rating if you're listening on the podcast. Or, hey, reach out at lockedonspartans@gmail.com with any questions, too. Let's get into the mix here. We're going to start talking basketball. We'll get into some hockey in segments 2 and 3, and then we'll get into some football tomorrow with our guy, Odell Brethem. We're going to talk about Aiden Childs. Yeah, how can he win the Heisman? We're just going to go for it on tomorrow's show. But right now, we're going to do a little study on yourself right now. Are you an optimistic person or a pessimistic person? If you don't know the answer, well, this quote by Malik Hall will set the table for this test here. Now, this comes from Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports, also a great friend of the program. This is a long quote from Malik Hall after the game against Purdue on Saturday. So bear with me here. There's a lot of good stuff in here, so this is all from Malik Hall starting now. Quote, if we can go out and compete and everybody plays hard the way we did today, a lot of our season looks a lot different. Coach has said it at times. The fans have said it at times. The media has said it at times. Sometimes we look soft. And today, I don't think we looked soft. I think we played extremely hard. There are some things that didn't go our way, but if we bring this effort and we bring this focus and we bring this energy to every single game, we're a different team. I think that's something we need to keep our focus on. If we show up every single game like we did today, I think the sky is the limit for us. We can do a lot of things. I'm not going to say we're not going to ever lose, but I think it looks a lot different for us. Okay, here you go. Either you're sitting in your chair or your driver's seat, smiling, thinking that, hey, better things are ahead for Michigan State basketball, or you just threw your coffee mug or your beer glass, whatever you're drinking out of, clean through the drywall next to you. Now, we're going to play both sides here. We're going to see, hey, how could that quote be a glass half full quote? Well, gee, damn it, Malik. You're right. When the team locks in, the team can be great. If they didn't lose those last 2 games against Ohio State, against Iowa in the week leading up to the Purdue game, I think a lot of us leave that Purdue game where they only lost by 6 feeling oddly okay about that loss. I mean, hey, Purdue is a very, very, very good team. Mackey is an incredibly tough place to play. Michigan State only lost by 6. That's the 3rd closest a Purdue opponent has held or has come within. That's the 3rd closest a team has come to beating Purdue in regulation at Mackey. There we go. That was a nice, clean way of saying that. You get my point. Purdue blows teams out at Mackey. Michigan State played them close because they brought that fire. Okay? That's all and well, Malik. And let's just go to the computers, too, right now. Let's look at the advanced analytics because Ken Pom absolutely loves Michigan State despite the 3 straight losses. They are ranked 20th on Ken Pom right now. 39th in adjusted offensive efficiency, top 15 in defense. And also there's something to be said about this. Michigan State has played the 7th toughest schedule according to Ken Pom. All right, this has not been a fun year. We've done a lot of these episodes where we're talking about losses after the games. But in true, typical Michigan State fashion, they are playing a schedule that is comparable to a lot of NBA schedule out there. So there's something to be said about that. And speaking of analytics, speaking of Ken Pom, did you know that Michigan State ranks 9th worst in the country at luck, according to Ken Pom? Now, how that's defined is the deviation between Michigan State's actual record and what the projected record should be. Now, let's just take the computers out of it because there are sometimes with our own eyes, we can see how luck factors into Michigan State games. Like just last Saturday against Purdue, Fletcher Lawyer was shooting the ball horrifically in the 8 games leading up to Saturday. In the 8 games combined, he only made 5 combined 3-pointers. And then what does he do on Saturday against the Spartans? He hits 4 3-pointers, and that ultimately, was one of the big differences in the game. Or, hey, how about that buzzer beater against Ohio State? Now, of course, we're not using it as an excuse, but, hey, if you're an objective viewer of the game, you can see that 3-pointer that went in at the buzzer probably had a little bit of luck into it. Or, hey, you want to rewind it all the way to the start of the season when Michigan State just made 1 3-pointer against James Madison, a game that went into overtime? Sure, there could be another shining example of luck going against Michigan State there. So, hey, let's say water finds its level. Let's say Michigan State competes the way they did on Saturday, and let's say that they start living up to what the computers see them as. Yeah, hey, guys, maybe we can see a good Big Ten tournament. Maybe we can see another second weekend, or dare I say, a third weekend in March Madness. Now, that's a glass half full for you out there. Let's switch to why, maybe if you had a visceral reaction to that quote, where that comes from. Okay, here it comes from me. Why is this quote coming out in March about being locked in? And if we play this hard and if we're this focused, we can win a lot of games. That's a cute quote to have in December after you face a team like, I don't know, Indiana State or Alcorn State or something like that, where you kind of walk through the game, you won, and then you realize, oh man, you know what? Hey, maybe if we lock in, we could be a little better. It is March. And hey, maybe also it's a little cute to have these quotes if you're a junior-led team or a sophomore-laden team, not a team that's draped with seniors and guys that are 23 years old and have been around the block a few times. That is incredibly alarming that it took until March 2nd at Mackey Arena to realize, hey, we should probably try really hard and focus during all these games, guys. How about that? So maybe if you had a reaction like that, maybe you're just a glass half empty person. Maybe that's how I'm kind of viewing it right now too. So again, I start to think, why did it take this long to actually, try at Purdue? And the reasoning that I come up with is, hey, you know what? Maybe that they realize that once again, they're out of the Big Ten chase. Okay, they took their foot off the gas. They got a little lazy as 10-point favorites against Iowa, against Ohio State. 2 teams that are fighting to get in the tournament. Maybe it just happens like that sometimes, Maybe that they know in the back of their heads that, hey, they can just turn the switch on when they get to the tournament because largely these games don't mean much. Except one problem with that line of thinking now is that now you might not even make the tournament thanks to that lackadaisical thinking and way of locking in during these games. So, yeah, they need to win the next 2 games. Now they do have 2 very, very opportune moments coming up. Indiana, yes, it's going to be a road game, but they stink. And before that game, senior night against a Northwestern team that has 3 key injuries. One is Ty Berry, who's out the rest of the season. The other, Matthew Nicholson, their center. He could be out. And then Ryan Langborg, he was out their last game as well, sporting an ankle brace at practice leading up to that game. So very opportune time to get 2 wins here. And let's go into bracketology talk right now because, hey, we open up the mailbag on Twitter. Also, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Mailbag is always open. Owen wrote in, do you think we need to win both, one or neither of the next 2 games to be comfortable on Selection Sunday? Also adds that he misses Cassius so much. Now, we reached out to one of the best bracketologists out there. You've heard me name drop him many times, Joe Cook-Sugart. He runs his bracketology at 131 Sports, one of the best minds out there. I sent Owen's question over to him. Joe wrote back, you all should be relatively comfortable with a 1-1 finish in winning the first game of the Big Ten tournament. Go 2-0 the next 2 games, you're in. Go 0-2, and you likely need to win at least 2 games to be quote-unquote comfortable. So really, it's a lot of what we've been saying, thanks to Joe's expert advice. Before the Purdue game, you just need to win 2 games the rest of the way, whether that's Northwestern, Indiana, whether it's just Northwestern and then the first Big Ten tournament game. That depending on how you define comfortable, is what it will take to be comfortable going into the tournament. Now, really quick, this is a quote from Tom Izzo today's press conference with not the Big Ten media, the Michigan State media. This tweet comes from Chris Solari of the Free Press. Izzo on whether fourth-year guys like A.J. Hoggard and Mady Sissoko might return for an extra COVID year of eligibility. Tom Izzo said, quote, "The way I look at it is my seniors are seniors this year. Will not address it until after the season." Now, if you remember after the Michigan game, A.J. Hoggard, the way he was talking with the media, it seemed definitive that this was going to be it for him. He talked about going out with the sweep against Michigan, going out and never having that opportunity again to beat those guys at Chrysler. So he was pretty definitive that this is going to be it for him. Mady, it's as good of a guess as anyone's. Yes, he can come back, but if you want my opinion on it, this isn't inside information at all. This is just kind of reading what's on the wall right now. I think it's apparent where things are going here with Mady. I would be a little surprised if he's back next year. Heck, I wonder if he even wants to be back because this can't be the senior year that anyone has hopes. So that's just my take on it. When they do senior night on Wednesday, this could be it for A.J. Hoggard and Mady Sissoko. So just wanted to get Tom's quote out there. We will be back here in a hot second talking that hockey, guys, but first need to talk your ears off about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your team wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Or hey, if the NBA isn't your speed, if you want to keep it to college basketball, if you want to keep it to our Spartans, they're currently 19-1 odds to reach the Final Four. If you're one of the glass half full people that we just talked about, and you believe in the January, February, Izzo, April mantra, bang, 19-1 odds over at FanDuel. Or hey, if you want to blow it out to more of the conference, the national champion to come from the Big Ten is at plus 460 right now over at FanDuel. So again, if you're a new customer, if you win your $5 bet, that is $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. It's FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Yeah, we had to tap into our hockey correspondent. His name's Jeremy Dewar. You guys already know him of Spartans Illustrated. Jeremy, as we record late on Sunday night, have the feet touched the ground yet after Michigan State locked up their first conference title since the 2000-2001 season?
No chance. Yeah, man, I have not come down from this at all.
Yeah.
It didn't help that, had to watch the basketball game Saturday. So I just, it helped keep me grounded a little bit. But, yeah, I found I didn't care at all Saturday night as we were losing. It didn't even penetrate me. So
who was sweating more? You, if you were to be in a sauna for 30 straight minutes, or Trey Augustine in the first period as he faced an onslaught of shots there on Friday night? Again, we could talk about Saturday, I guess, if you want, but who cares about that 4-1 loss? Friday night, though, who was sweating more? Because what a way to start the day for old Trey Augustine there.
Oh, my God, man. Yeah, and not only that, to face that many shots after you let up 47 seconds into the game. Not even one that wasn't like it was a soft goal or anything. I don't think he even saw it. But
gotcha.
Yeah, man, just I can't imagine being on tilt like that. And what the weirdest thing had to be coming into the locker room up 2-1 when you just absolutely got outplayed for 19 minutes and 20 seconds of that period, but you somehow come out of it ahead. Yeah, man, that kid's unreal for a 19-year-old. I don't know. We're still not that composed in our 30s, so I don't know how that operates.
Yes, it was 19 shots that he faced in the first period, and he tied his career high with 44 saves on the whole night. His fourth game this season with 40-plus saves. When it comes to stars of the game on Friday, is he the top guy, point blank? Is it just that easy to anoint him as the MVP for Friday night, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be, just because even though there were some guys that had an amazing game, like Reed Lebster, who scored the game-winning goal, but also set up Jeremy Davidson on his one-time goal in the first period, and had a really great night. At the end of the day, none of that is possible if you're down 3 or 4-0, which they absolutely could have been within the first 10 minutes of that game. So, Trey kind of ran away with the headlines there.
Yeah.
Definitely had some guys that stepped up and played better, but it's hard to anoint anyone else when you're not even in that game if it's not for Trey. So.
Yeah, totally. And we, on yesterday's show, we also called out Reed Lebster, of course, for being one of the stars of the game. Artem Leshnoff, of course, another star of the game. Is there anyone that was an X factor of this game that might not jump out box score wise, but that you thought really had a big role in Friday night's clincher?
I thought the fourth line was excellent. I thought the fourth line of like Tiernan, Shouty, Tanner Kelly, and Tommy Maniso, pretty good. Like I haven't seen any of the advanced stats to see what it looked like, but it seems like when they were on the ice, they were at least not hemmed into their own zone. Like they were one of the few lines that early on was able to get down low and kind of grind on Wisconsin a little bit and at least buy their defensemen and buy their goaltender a little bit of a break. So they didn't really pop on the score sheet. I think Tiernan added an empty net goal at the end, but other than that, they didn't really pop on the score sheet. But those guys, they did work that you don't see on the score sheet. That definitely bought some rest for some guys.
And as we move forward here, hey, it's Big Ten tournament time. Michigan State, they have the bye. They will be hosting the games at Munch should they keep winning those. But let's talk about what it takes to win in the postseason in hockey, because other sports have some adages, right? Like for March Madness, hey, you go as far as your guards can take you. Or in football playoffs, whether it's NFL or college, you can only be as good as your trenches are. Old words of wisdom like that. For hockey, what is it? What takes you far in the postseason in hockey? Or is it just really unlike any other sport? It is just a mix of everything.
You can ride a hot goalie, right? Like a hot goalie can cover up a lot of other deficiencies in your game. I think the hard part for someone who's maybe new to college hockey or new to following this is it's not going to be like you follow the Stanley Cup playoffs for the NHL. That becomes a war of attrition. Like playing, you got to win 16 games. You got to, you play it over 2 months. And like, a lot of times by the time you get to the Stanley Cup final, it's just who has their lineup intact, like who can actually get up and down the ice a little bit still. But college hockey, right now, as MSU sits, they're 6 games away from the national championship. So it's everything from here is single elimination, both in the conference tournament and in the NCAA. So it's not going to be that attrition. It's going to be, you got to have your goalie get hot that night and never have an off night. And I think in college hockey, the thing that can derail teams even more than just running into a hot goalie is you got to have discipline. Like you take a 5-minute penalty in an elimination game, like we did on Friday night and survived coming out of it with only 1 goal against. Like you take one of those in an elimination game, that's a long time to kill a penalty. That's going to be something that I think this team has to be careful of and what they've struggled with as they have throughout the season.
That 5 minutes on Friday when they were served that major penalty felt like a half hour, roughly. That was a long 5 minutes, Jeremy. That was tough.
It wasn't like the fact that it came under from a review, like it wasn't called live, and they went back and review it, and you pull Maxim Stravic, who's one of the stronger PK guys too, and you're just like, I the whole time I just felt for Maxim, like that is the longest 5 minutes as you sit in that box. Like you hope and pray that they take a penalty or something happens and you get out of there. Like, yeah. And then they do a great job the first 2 minutes of it, and 5 seconds after a face-off, it's in the net. So you couldn't tell how that was going to swing.
Still more to come with our guy Jeremy, but first, a word from Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Well, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Take, for example, the 2024 Nissan Rogue. It is perfect for city drives and great escapes, has class-exclusive Google built-in. It's always your assistant that's on call for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch high-definition touchscreen infotainment system. Does not get any easier with the Nissan Rogue. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Or hey, take the 2024 Nissan Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Just picture a rugged 4x4 that could seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Nissan Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Lucked out there. But as we keep looking into the future here, look, they updated the pairwise rankings, which is the massive indicator for how you're going to be seated in the NCAA tournament coming up. Michigan State, they're right out of the inside for a 1 seed. They sit at 5 right now. How are you feeling to grab that 1 seed here, Jeremy? Like, do you feel like they do have a legitimate shot, or is it just so top heavy with teams like Boston College, Boston University, North Dakota, and Denver that they really have to, well, just win this Big Ten tournament to even have a shot of getting a 1 seed?
No, I mean, I think they do have to win the Big Ten tournament. I don't think just one win does it for them.
Okay.
I think they're going to have to probably get 2 wins to do that, just because these other teams are going to be playing too. So, but I think what opens up your possibility is BC and BU playing the same week. So only one of them has to have a loss coming here.
Gotcha.
And same with North Dakota and Denver. I don't think BC and BU are going to move off the one line no matter what. Like, those 2 teams have kind of run away. So I think they're going to be there pretty safely. But North Dakota and Denver can absolutely be got, especially if they lose early in their playoffs versus make a little bit of a run and get a couple wins that they stack up. So, no, I think it's absolutely doable, especially if you figure out, I mean, unless there's an upset here in the first round of the Big Ten, you might, it's very likely that you have, like, if you win the Big Ten, you beat maybe Michigan and Wisconsin or Minnesota. Like, those are 2 top 15 wins. So I would absolutely have to think they could put themselves to the edge of a 1 seed, right? In that 4 spot, which ends up very likely in the same region as the 5 seed that they are right now, or the 5 hole top number 2 seed. But a little bit, I guess, a little bit easier of a matchup, but not nearly the same as basketball. Because if you look at it right now, I think, and I looked at it last night, Denver right now would be playing Michigan in the first round, and that is not a 4 seed that you want to see. So
it's tough.
It's not quite the same of a 1-16, but especially once you get off of like that top number 1 seed, it just becomes power teams that you have a little bit over on.
And let's talk about this Big Ten tournament coming up, because Michigan State, they won't play until March 16th. They got that bye, of course, that we talked about, which, God, by the time March 16th rolls around, it'll feel like a 2-month break between games. Yeah. That's going to be a long break. But, Jeremy, they're going to face the winner of this Notre Dame-Michigan series. Who would you rather face? Is it going to be the Michigan team just because, well, that's going to be the most electric atmosphere that Munn Ice Arena has seen in a very long time? Or is the path just a little easier with Notre Dame? And is that who you'd rather see come in here?
So technically, they could see other teams because they do reseed.
That's right. You
do need Ohio State or Penn State to upset, which I don't. Yep. We'll see. Especially because the first round is a best of 3, so it's not just they got to win 2 games. So yeah. I think for me, like, matchup wise, it's Notre Dame. Even last year, like when they beat Notre Dame in the playoffs, I think Notre Dame has to be one of the better records Nightingale has here in his first 2 years. They just really match up well. They don't really have the top end talent to test MSU's blue line, which is a little bit of their weakness right now. But yeah, I personally, what I want Michigan back in Munn. We got them one time, and it was a 7-1 blowout, and it was kind of pretty deflating. Loved all the other 3 wins, but I would have loved one of those to happen at Munn. So you get the opportunity to get them in your barn again one more time. I would love that. So if it goes chalk, I'm okay with Michigan coming here and getting one more chance.
And thanks for pointing out the reseeding thing. That's obviously very important to correct on here because, it is not a guarantee that it could be either of those teams. But if it is Michigan, Jeremy, Munn Ice Arena, Big Ten tournament semifinal, would that be the most electric game in our recent memory here at Munn Ice Arena? I feel like it's easy to say that, or is there something that is of memory to you that like kind of sticks out as a good comparison?
No, this would have to be it.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything like that. Even in the CCHA days, you only hosted playoffs up until right before the semifinals, through the quarterfinal round, and there were some great CCHA series, including a series where Michigan swept MSU back in, it was like 2010 or 2011. But yeah, it's there's been some good ones that have come through, but I can't imagine anything like that. Single game Saturday night, you get all week to build into it. Like, no, especially because, even considering how electric it was or could have been, it kind of died pretty quickly when they came here earlier this year. Even considering that, like, at the end of the day, you always knew in that game, no matter what happens tonight, we play them tomorrow in Ann Arbor. So
it's true.
I think having it be a single elimination, and MSU's sitting there with a chance to then the next week host a Big Ten championship like that hasn't been topped, I don't think.
And the game would be on Big Ten Network Plus's Hungarian stream. Like it would be amazing. Like it would just be made for TV. It's going to be a sensational night. Should it happen again? Some dominoes have to fall into place here, but let's end on this, Jeremy, because you did an awesome piece at Spartans Illustrated, not just about the game Friday, the whole season, but you really encapsulated everything so well in this. And I just want to jump to the last sentence here, because you finished this with, I have no words, just take it all in. This image will be on my mind for a very long time. And below was the tweet with the picture of the Michigan State hockey team, the coaches, Alan Haller is there, all posing, smiling at the camera. Jeremy, when you see that picture, what's the first thing that sticks out to you, or what is your just biggest takeaway from that moment in history?
For me, it's I think I really felt this on senior night. The seniors who are not the transfers in.
Gotcha.
Like those guys, Nico Mueller, even as a fifth-year senior, like he's got an extra year into this. Like those guys came under Dan Cole, start here, the COVID year. It's, looking brutal. The new coaching staff comes in, you have to earn. Like when the new coaching staff came in, it was not assumed that you were back on the team. Like it was very much a earn your place to be here. Like Adam Nightingale's going to use the portal. It's not guaranteed that you're going to be here. And they had a lot of attrition after last year even too. So if you're a senior on this team who wasn't recruited by this staff, you earned your
earned it
to stay here. Like you went through it. So I think for me, it's just, those guys, like the hard part is when you go through like a decade like MSU hockey did, every class kind of said the thing about like, I would like to get MSU back to where we belong. I would like to do this. Like, unfortunately, they all kind of had that goal, but this class actually lived it and did it. And yeah, they got some help with some talented underclassmen, but I mean, just looking at that game Friday night, like outside of Trey, it's Jeremy Davidson scoring a huge goal. It's your seniors like Nico Mueller eating pucks on a PK. Like it's just those guys are who I kind of found in that picture, because the young guys, it's just kind of what they've experienced, right? Like they've experienced a great season here. They're the kings of campus. They're, like they're feeling great. But those older guys, man, they really went through a ton in their 4 or 5 years here. So I think I'm going to always remember that class, and just, it will probably be overshadowed eventually if Adam Nightingale keeps doing this all the time. But
please do.
Those guys among the like pros who come back, or among it's pretty similar to MSU basketball. These guys are pretty tight. Like senior night had about 45 or 50 former MSU hockey players that were on the ice and took part in the senior night ceremonies. Like it's a pretty tight knit group, and I think those seniors they've earned a place in that group where they don't have to hang their heads at the golf outing. They can be pretty happy.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm talking about. What a way to end it. And Jeremy, you've done a fantastic job just covering this team and just pouring, not just obviously the passion, because you've been a long supporter of this team, but also just the knowledge, the insight. You speak very eloquently on it. You write great about it. So really just do appreciate everything that you do. And the best part about all this, Jeremy, it ain't over, baby. It's just getting started over here, man. So yeah, we got a lot more to come with this hockey season. It's exciting times, because boy howdy, do us State fans need something to smile about like during an actual season here. And hey, a lot of the Olympic sports are giving it to us, but hockey, nice in dramatic fashion on the road too at Wisconsin, man. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Love to do it in the Kohl Center.
Hey, you know what? You called it out. You didn't say Wisconsin was frauds. You kind of shied away from it the last time we talked last week, but We read between the lines. Loud and
Yeah.
clear. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, Jeremy, this is awesome. We'll drag you back on here during the postseason. I'm sorry to say, unless you
Love
want
to
to
see
say
it.
no. If you don't want to, I totally understand. But you've been doing fantastic work, folks. If you want more of Jeremy Dewar, obviously follow him, JD_Jerbear on Twitter. You probably already do by now. And also read his fine work at Spartans Illustrated. And folks, we will be back tomorrow. We got the chief of propaganda in the mix, Odell Brentham himself. It's going to be a hoot and a half. If you have any questions for us, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. But until then, hey, enjoy the rest of your week. Love you all. Go Green.